Go. Welcome to the PRCA Fuse podcast. Now, how do you solve a problem like underrepresentation of certain ethnic groups in science? PR and comms can absolutely have an important role here, and joining us in today's podcast is Maxine Myers from Imperial College London, who helped set up the Imperial as One Media Academy to tackle this very issue. Here we talk about her great story, and it really does put our jobs into context. The people who we do platform do matter. Enjoy the podcast. Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Maxine. To kick off for our listeners, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Maxine Myers and I am a communications manager at Imperial College London.
Brilliant. And you have a pretty incredible story. I remember seeing you talk about this at a conference organised by Elizabeth Bananuka. You've set something up called the Media Academy at Imperial. Before we go into it, could you tell us a little bit about why you set it up? What was the problem you were looking to solve?
Yeah, so the Imperial as One Media Academy basically came about to address some of the issues within the higher education landscape at the moment. So at the moment, according to recent data from the Higher Education Statistical Agency, we have over 20,000 professors in the UK, but only 1% are Black. And then that's happening at the staffing levels, but when you go into the postgraduate levels as well. So BME postgraduate students are more likely to drop out of studying science than white students. And then in terms of funding as well, BME researchers are less likely to get funding. And then when they do, it's less than what white researchers get. So you take all those statistics combined, it gives the impression that BME researchers make very little contribution to science or to innovation in the UK. And given that science is something that crosses borders and cultures and barriers, and it affects us all, it's really important to make sure that we're being representative and making sure that BME researchers, the ones that are currently doing incredible work, are being profiled and have that visibility in order to inspire, in order to inform. And I also just truly believe that you can't be what you can't see. And that's why I felt like the Imperial as One Media Academy could be a really good vehicle to help increase and boost visibility of BME researchers.
That's an incredible ambition for how did you spot this problem? Was it a case of you were just looking around you at who was being, who's getting the research grants, who's leading the courses, or was it something else? Was it you were looking at the statistics? Talk me through what happened for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take complete credit for this. I work with an incredible team of colleagues across the university working in different areas within EDI, within teaching, and other communications colleagues as well. And so it was a combination of being in a communications professionals and seeing the experts that you see out there often talking about science or providing expert reaction to world events or scientific discoveries. They're largely white and male. And so I just felt that within our own communications at Imperial, that we are a diverse university, we have a diverse student body. And so it's really important that we are reflecting that diversity within our communications and not just tending to rely on the same voices over and over again. And so at Imperial, we, on an ad hoc basis, have communications training. And so it was tending to have the same type of audiences coming along to that in terms from the science community. And so I felt that, there are BME researchers, and so perhaps we need something a bit more tailored for them to acknowledging the barriers and the extra weight that they have compared to white researchers and scientists.
Got it. So how long has it been going now then?
Yeah, so we started in 2021. So we are about to come up for our 6th year. So that's really exciting. And since then, we've had over 130 of our researchers come through the Media Academy.
Wow. So how does it work? Talk me through, is it a case of people apply for a place, they get the content, the course content, and So talk me through how it all works.
Yeah, so we run the Media Academy on a yearly basis. So typically between March and May, it's a 3-month program, and we have 25 spaces that's opened up to Imperial researchers, but also to our partners, the Francis Crick Institute and the Institute of Cancer Research. So people that meet our criteria, so being from a BME background and a researcher, are welcome to apply onto the program. It's over 3 months. They are taught communications training in a variety of areas. So media training, which is delivered by Elizabeth Badanuka, social media, how to make good videos, public engagement, which is really important as well. In order to get grants, you have to demonstrate, how you're going to communicate your research findings to the public. So that's a really key area. And we also train them in writing. So how do you write opinion pieces and blogs for newspapers, for examples? And then finally, we have a unit on public affairs and policy. So how do you get your work in front of key decision makers? And so our trainers are from a variety of backgrounds, so internal trainers at Imperial, but also external trainers. And then where possible, we try to ensure that trainers are from a BME background, because I really feel that it's not just about the diversity of the people that attend in, it's also weaved throughout the program as well. So it's really living those values at every element of the program too. And I think also having trainers that look like you just helps create that psychological safety, that shared understanding. So it's more listening and sharing perspective rather than a teaching moment from that perspective too. And I think it gives good role models as well to show the diversity within the communications, because again, within our industry, that is a problem as well. So I think it's about providing those opportunities for people that look like myself to then be there to showcase and their expertise too.
It's amazing because often when you think about scientists, you're thinking about people wearing white coats, they're in the lab doing the experiments, but actually communication's a really key part of successful science, being able to talk about your work, explain the impact, what you're doing. You mentioned it's a 3-month course, so March, April, May. I guess you're in the middle of a new intake at the moment. What kind of commitment is it for the people, those 25 people coming onto the course? Is it a face-to-face training they have once a week? How much time do they have to commit and put aside for this?
Yeah, so all our training's in person. So and we've had our training in person over the last couple of years. Initially, when we started, obviously we were just coming out of the pandemic. It was online and then hybrid, and now we're fully in person. And I think that helps foster that sense of community and building those ties with each, like being able to have collaboration opportunities as well. I think something that's been really nice as an impact is that some of our researchers are like, oh, you're in my department. I had no idea that you're looking into this. So am I. Or somebody be like, I think we've got an opportunity to come together on this. So I think that's really key. So it's in person, and the duration is, sometimes you can have training every week, and there's a bit of a gap and stuff. So so it's all day training. So in terms of length, some of them are like whole days, some of them are half a day as well. So it varies.
Amazing. And the course content, so you talked us through what the course content looks like now. Has that evolved over the last 6 years? Did you realise there was a gap here? You could
Yes.
tweak things here. Talk us through that process.
Yeah, so we're constantly evaluating it because things always move and change within communications. And so we also want to make sure that it's relevant and we're not just repeating ourselves. So public engagement was a new unit. So we introduced that last year, just a recognition that is a specific skill set that you need to have. There's engagement with media and with journalists, but then engaging with the public and thinking around, well, what does good public engagement look like? And so how do you communicate your science to a 5-year-old, but also to like someone who's 60, or like somebody with no knowledge, somebody with lots of knowledge. So I think it's really important. And so having that public engagement session has been really key. We at Imperial, we put on lots of public engagement events. So we have festivals, we have sort of evening events and things like that. So it provides that direct pipeline. If somebody's already trained in that, they can then participate in a range of different public engagement events as well. And I think we've also started to tweak things in terms of the fact that, we've been going now for over 5 years. We've got wonderful, incredible graduates. So some of them are coming back onto the program this year to talk about, well, this is what I've been up to. So it brings the program to life. It stops becoming theory and then becomes like, oh, actually, this does have direct impact on my career. And you can see like others who have come before you really utilize this learnings and skills that they developed and just gone off and soared.
Amazing. Tell us about some of the students who have come on board. Who are they? What have they done? And what have they gone on to do?
So we've had PhD students, researchers at different levels, at different stages of their careers. So I think we did carry out an evaluation, and between January last year up until now, so 20 of our Media Academy graduates have like appeared in over 700 pieces of national, international, industry outlets, which has been brilliant. So we had one researcher who was interviewed and photographed by The Observer talking about a device he created that can make limb-saving devices in conflict zones.
Wow.
We had one of our researcher last year presented her work on the disparities in sickle cell care in the UK, and she presented that at the House of Lords. And then it was also reported on by The Guardian, and she authored an opinion piece for the British Medical Journal. And then we also had a researcher who talked about the global state of patient safety in hospitals, and she again presented that at the House of Lords, and then she was interviewed by the BBC and the Guardian about it, and the Daily Mail as well. So it's been a real variety of what people have gone on to do. People have gone on to use that public engagement experience to get funding for their work. So we had a researcher who was able to get further funding. She's looking into developing faster diagnosis and tests to use in sub-Saharan African countries, for example, for HIV. So it's just been really incredible to see what people have gone on to do.
I mean, this all feels like real life-saving stuff, like life-saving science that can impact lots of lives, and this academy is helping to enable all of that. It sounds absolutely brilliant. You were talking about public affairs, and how have people responded to that course module?
Yes, I would say that when people see the public affairs one, it's my favorite one because people come in with a perception that it's going to be really dry and boring, like, oh, it's politics, it's going to be really theory, and it's going to be, and when they go, it's delivered by our Imperial team, the forum, and we've got an incredible trainer. And yes, we talk through about like what the House of Lords is, what they do, and the different chambers of government. But then it brings it to life about the ways in which then people can get their work in front of policymakers, what routes. And then when I speak to people after, our graduates, and they come, they're like, I really wasn't looking forward to this, but that was amazing. That was amazing. I didn't realize I could have impact in that way. I now know how I can submit evidence. I now know what an all-party parliamentary group is, and like all the different ones that are out there, and ways in which I can get involved with using my research. So yeah, I think that's been like the one that always surprises people, because they come in with one like, oh, this is not going to be the most interesting, and they leave just like, wow, that was incredible.
And the impact of what you set up, or what you and your colleagues have set up, has been pretty profound upon the people who come through this. Was it originally for Imperial, or did Francis Crick and were they part of this originally? Have they come on board since you've started? How did those relationships develop?
Yeah, so it started off very much an Imperial only initiative, and then as we started to see success, we started to see results, we started to see impact. We as a committee thought, I think we could have further impact within the sector. Given that this is beneficial for all of us. And I remember like giving a talk a couple of years ago at the Russell Group Communications Day, and the response from other comms professionals at the Russell Group were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I really want to be part of it. This is incredible. And so it made us think like, okay, well, how can we test this? How can we see like whether we can replicate this in other institutions? So the Institute of Cancer Research is a key partner of Imperial. So we already collaborate a lot on research projects and things like that. So we have that existing partnership. And then we're part of the Francis Crick Institute alongside a number of other universities. So that made sense for us. And that's given us sort of the data to show that, look, we can have impact outside of Imperial. And so that enables us to think, okay, we can go a bit further now. And like, how do we expand this across the sector?
And is that part of the ambition to try and take intake from other places, increase your student numbers? And
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, we are funded by Research England Enhancing Research Culture Grant, which has been amazing, which allows us to put this programme on. But then just thinking about sustainability and how we grow and develop, what kind of sustainable model could we have financially to make sure that it's self-sustaining, that we could run this every year without having to think about putting in a grant and that kind of thing. And so now as a committee, we're thinking there is interest there across the sector. So how do we scale this up in a way that's sustainable? So we're not going too quickly, too soon, and then we lose the quality, we lose the impact. But then, but we do want to grow in a way that works for us and makes sense for us. This is a very resource intensive project. I won't lie. We all do this on top of very busy jobs. So it's thinking about how do we scale in a reasonable and sort of sustainable way as well.
And so you're doing this in addition to your regular job.
Yes.
Tell us about the impact that this has had on your personal career.
I think it's had such an impact on me as a leader, like in terms of leadership skills. So at the moment, I line manage a project manager that we have on board that handles the logistics and the planning of the Media Academy. So certainly growing in that role as a leader has been really great for me. I've learned a lot about myself in terms of the values of like who I am and how I like to lead and manage people, in a very collaborative way. And I work alongside incredibly talented colleagues, and I've learned so much from them. Everyone brings something different to the table. Like I said, we've got a researcher who's an expert in EDI. We have another colleague who's won awards for his teaching and is incredible. And then my other colleagues in comms. So I think it's just been really good for me to, outside of I work in research media, so having outside of my research media bubble, like go out in different areas of the university and learn things as well. And that makes me a better, more rounded comms professional, I feel.
And what's the response from media been? Have they come back to you and said, this is brilliant, we need more people from different backgrounds talking about this stuff?
I mean, I think the response, I think for them, they've been able to call upon a broader pool of people. So one of the things we do once all our graduates finish the Media Academy, they're added to our media guide at Imperial and also the Science Media Centre's media guide. So the Science Media Centre was set up to ensure that there's trusted, accurate information on science. And so they often put on press conferences, they send around calls from journalists and things like that. And so the response has been like, we've got a different voice, a different perspective, somebody with a different background or history talking about a real key issue and adding a different slant to something that they may not have thought about as well. So you're getting different voices out there and you're not relying on the same. And I think one of the things that journalists are just really looking for is somebody who can explain something complex in a way that is accessible, that they're clear, they can communicate well. So as long as you can do that, they're happy and stuff. And then they get to know and build different relationships with other scientists too. So that's always a good thing. Some of our researchers are working on incredible stories at the moment. And so, so that's been really good.
So what would your dream scenario be for the Academy?
I think for me, the dream scenario would be, we'd definitely scale up and we'll have this accessible widely. And yes, to the Russell Group, but I'm also thinking outside of the Russell Group as well. So, often when you go outside the Russell Group, there's a bit more diversity in terms of the staff in doing research as well. So it'd be good to get that perspective represented in terms of who goes on to the Media Academy. It's very much focused on STEM. But it'd be good to think about the arts. Is there a way that we could tailor the Media Academy so it could be relevant for those who are researchers in the arts as well? So I think, there's so much talk about arts being accessible, especially, to kids from working class backgrounds and things like that. So if there's a way in which we could add value there, that would be really good. So I definitely just want to see it help as many people as possible because I think we all benefit from it. And then if others see people that look like them engage in science and think, actually, a science career could work for me or the science career could be for me, we as a society benefit. There's so many areas that are currently under-researched, women's health, children's health. I just mentioned about the disparities in sickle cell care, which could potentially lead to policy change in that area. So I think it's just really important that, if we get much more diverse perspective represented, we'll benefit for it.
So at the beginning of this interview, you talked about the issue being you've been trying to get more people from diverse backgrounds into academia. And so have you seen the Media Academy start to make a difference and impact there? Have you heard any stories about people saying, I'm on this course because I saw this person in the media?
I think we last one of the I've mentioned we had last year Big Manny who came in as
Yeah,
a guest lecturer for our social media session, and it
amazing.
was really really inspiring because he uses social media in such a way to encourage people that young black boys in particular into science, and he's so creative and innovative. And so once I had him on the course, I remember the participants was like, oh my god, I told my niece or my nephew that we had Big Manny, and they were huge fans, and they just thought this was really really cool. And so yeah, so we've had people saying like, I want to do what he's doing, and look how he can use social media. I think we've had people like, oh, I'm a bit scared, I don't know whether I want to go on social media platforms, but then they've seen somebody who's using it in such an inspiring way and having real tangible impact, and they're like, I can also have an impact. So yes, we've had a bit of that too.
I mean, he's absolutely brilliant, isn't he, Big Manny? My children who are primary school age, I've shown them some videos and they can't get enough of him. He's really, really
Yes, yeah.
great. And the stuff
I
he
mean,
does is really
yeah, I mean, when he came on campus, like some of the students were stopping him for selfies. So
really
they were like, oh my God, it's Big Manny.
amazing. So where can our listeners go to find out a bit more about what you're doing?
Yes. So we have our Imperialist One Media Academy website. So that has all the information about the program, the course content, but also you can hear, we've got a video with some testimonials from our previous participants as well. So yeah, for more information, go there as the first point of call.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.